I was born for his service. He filled me with purpose. Take your time while you worship him. I'm unplugged from the matrix. Believe without seeing, I'm plugged into the faith tricks. The Daily Perspective. Another episode of the Daily Perspective podcast. I'm your host, Mr. Daley, and I have along with me my co-host, Dr. Terrence Johnson. Yeah, there you go. He's introducing himself now. How you doing, Terrence?
I'm doing well. How about yourself?
I'm good. Let's give a shout out to our listeners on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Breaker, Anchor, Pocket Casts, people who are viewing this on YouTube. We just want to shout you guys out. Appreciate the love, appreciate the support. I can see the viewership going up. Thank you for that. Keep supporting, keep tuning in, and we will keep bringing you good content. Terrence and I are enjoying our journey through scriptures, but it's not a case of just going through scriptures to give you scriptures for scripture's sake. It's to help you to relate the scriptures to your everyday life. This is about real Christian living for Christian men and women. Obviously, we talk more from a men's perspective because that's what we are. But what we try and offer and what we try and bring should be relevant to anyone who is listening. So we appreciate the listening. We appreciate you tuning in. This episode is called Protect Your Dreams. And it was just something that we all have dreams. We've been talking about purpose. We've been talking about some really good stuff. And one thing that I've always done to my detriment sometimes is overshare. Now, like I said, I've always said it, I live life as an open book. And when we start to get into some of these other topics that we're going to touch on in the future, or we start to talk about relationships and life and all that, you see that I live life as an open book. But when it comes to purpose, when it comes to your dreams, living life as an open book can be a bit dangerous. So that is the reason for this topic. We want to explain that, we want to explore that, we want to help you so that you can relate that and protect your dreams so that you can actually fulfill your purpose and fulfill those dreams. Before we get right into it, Dr. Johnson, how are you doing, my brother?
I'm doing well. It's been busy. It's been a busy morning, but I can't complain.
All right. So give us a bit of insight into what's been happening with you lately.
So a lot of planning on some things to come. We're working on a couple projects that are moving forward. I've had some good meetings this week, and some meetings that I got scheduled for later on in the week that could potentially set us up for first quarter next year, so I'm excited about that. And we are looking for help, apprentices, and we have an intern that is starting with us this week. So,
awesome!
Getting him started and acclimated into what we do, and so that's it was always exciting for us to be able to mentor other people. We're really passionate about it, and I think that's why we do what we do is to give it back, pay it forward, and so that's kind of like our first official our progress intern. We've done supervision and done those things, but this is the first person that'll be working directly with us as an intern. So we're excited about that.
That is awesome. For people that have been listening for since we started this, so this is like week 9 for us. Mm-hmm. But people that have been listening will know Terrence's journey and the story of our progress, and you'd have heard where I'm trying to go with Daily Perspective and VFit and the different things that we got in the pipeline. So you know, my joy for Terrence right now is deep, because it's a milestone.
It's been a journey. It's been a journey.
It's a milestone.
It's been a journey.
You know, I'm hoping to get to that milestone at some point, but these things are like landmarks for us. When we get to the point where we can bring people in, it means that the vision is growing. It means that the dream is taking root, and that tree, that vision tree that Terrence planted is now taking root, and it's growing. So, you know, it's an amazing thing. Want a round of applause on that one, right?
Yeah. Where my little hand?
Yeah. That's it. Throw up that clap. Yeah. Oh, awesome. That's awesome news. So yeah, so I'm super happy. You know, Terrence and I have been having some conversations. We got some things that, you know, we're working on in the background as well, as usual. Like I said, we're always talking. We're always staying connected and trying to see how, you know, I really appreciate Terrence, because he's helping me further the vision that I have for the Daily Perspective, because it's not just the podcast. It is bigger than a podcast. There are so many things that are tied up in my head, so many dreams, and I'm going to take my own advice from this episode. I'm not going to overshare right now, but there are bigger dreams that are tied to this vision for Daily Perspective. Terrence is someone that I confide in, someone I share with, someone that it keeps me humble and keeps me focused, encourages me, prays for me, family. So that's what it is. So when we see each other hit milestones, we are super proud of each other. So this week we are talking about protecting your dreams. And just a bit of background. So as I told Terrence earlier in the week, the reason this episode came about was when I was younger, I'd have these big elaborate plans and dreams, and I didn't know when to zip it. I would keep talking. I didn't know when to shut up. So I'd be like, oh, I'm going to do this. Oh, I'm going to do this. And guess what? When I grow up, I'm going to do this and I'm going to create this record label, and we're going to do this, and I used to tell everyone everything. And the thing with me is ideas come to me at 100 miles an hour. So people, and I'm going to touch on that, but these ideas come to me at 100 miles an hour, and those ideas are not necessarily meant to be shared at that point. They are immature. They are not. You know, it's like there's this thing when people get pregnant, they wait till the first trimester is over before they announce it to people to say, I'm pregnant, because in the early stages of pregnancy, there is this risk that the pregnancy may not carry to term. There is this risk that you will have this early loss of that pregnancy, of that baby. So people wait before they share their joy with anyone else. And with our dreams, we need to be as protective as we are, as mothers are in that beginning phase, because before the dream itself actually takes root, before, you know, it's just a fetus. It's not even, it's barely just being fertilized. The egg has just been fertilized, and you already out there throwing a baby shower for it. So it's kind of dial it back. And that's something that I needed to learn. That's something that I started to do. And I think it took a while until me and Terrence even got to know each other before I started to open up and share some of my dreams. So, you know, it's something that is a discipline that I've had to learn the hard way. But it's something that I think is very important to anyone that has a dream and has a purpose that they are believing in, because if you don't learn to do this, you can easily become discouraged. And once you are discouraged, you can easily veer off the path of your purpose and your dream. Mm-hmm. So that was it for me. When we spoke about it, Terrence, what kind of hit you when I hit you with that topic?
So you want me to say what I thought in the moment, or kind of what I wanted to lead off with today? Because I got to lead off today. That it's gonna take you a place.
You already tempted me now. I want to know what you thought in the moment now.
So this is what I wrote down this morning, and I had forgot about it. So, like I said, and this kind of tell where we are in age, but back in the day, it was something called Napster, and Napster was the thing that you went on. It was some software you downloaded to your computer that you could illegally download things, whether if it was songs or whatever. And then the next generation of it was LimeWire.
Yeah.
Anybody who know about LimeWire, LimeWire will mess your computer every time. It will put some stuff on your computer that you don't want. But it's like, man, I want to get this, this new CD came out. I don't want to pay for it.
Yeah.
So I wanted to go ahead and download it. And so that's the same thing as protecting our purpose. We have to be careful what we download. If we download the wrong things, it can infect the very thing that's our purpose. But also, when we illegally download things, it's because we're trying to skip steps.
Oh, yeah, there you go.
So it's a process to go into your purpose. And the more you try and do shortcuts or make it shorter than it's supposed to be, then you welcome things that could then attack or become a virus in text. And me and David kind of prepped, and I was like, I'm gonna talk a lot of his language, because that's his language. I'm gonna talk a lot of your language today. But that's one level of protection, is what are you downloading into your life? And you might be downloading things that contradict your purpose.
Yeah. See, every time you go into this to this software analogy, you kind of you trigger things for me. So it's kind of like when you download, like you said, when you were on LimeWire and you downloaded something, you got what you wanted, but you got some extra stuff in there. Right. You had that little README file that said, before you play this, you need to click this README file, and then you open that, and then you see all these little pop-ups, and the screen go crazy. It's kind of like that when we, as you say, when we try to circumvent the natural route of our purpose, and when we try and take shortcuts, we take steps, illegal steps. And as part of that, we open the doors, because, it may be that I've got to do this course to get to where I want to, but I don't want to do the course. So I think I know, I've got all the knowledge because I've read a few books. So what I'll do is I'm going to buy me a certificate that makes it look like I got the qualification or whatever. There are consequences that circumventing or taking that shortcut bring with it. That might be jail time. It could be a lot of it, but there are a lot of things that come with trying to shortcut and bypass. And sometimes rather than, and this is it. So if you imagine, if you were trying to be, so in the US, you're trying to get your medical license, because even in the UK, you got to be you're signed off by the General Medical Council, but you're trying to get your license to practice. Doing certain things will cost you your license. So trying to take certain shortcuts will either A, stop you ever getting your license, or B, make you lose your license.
Mm-hmm.
So by doing that, your purpose is completely derailed and blocked because you try to take a shortcut. And that's kind of like what that malware is when when you're on LimeWire and you get the malware. It's something that will either stop you from getting to what you were trying to get to because you get all these viruses and then your laptop is dead.
Yep.
Or you get there, but it's never the same ever again because you've got this stain on you've got this blemish on your record. You've got this stain on your history. You've got these constant pop-ups that keep coming back because you can't get rid of them because you can't get to the root of the problem. The malware has embedded itself in your root directory. So every time you think you've cleaned it up and you try and move forward, it's like, nah, I'm still here, and pops back up.
Yep. Okay, so one of the things that I wanted to touch on was when you think about it, when you do have those things and all those pop-ups and malware and things like that, what it does is it affects your performance. So what used to take you a short amount of time now would take you longer and longer because your processing time takes so much longer.
Yeah.
And so it's the same thing with your purpose. The things that you then download into your life affects your performance. Now, it's things that you can get to enhance the performance of your computer, but what we're talking about in context is your purpose. So it's things that you can, and not necessarily just purchase, but watch, read, or whatever that can enhance your performance. But it's also things you could do that can decrease your performance. And the daily choices you make really affect how well you can perform and protect your purpose. Because when you are not doing daily things, then you're starting to let down your defenses, and then more things can then come and infect the thing that's most precious. And we talked about it yesterday, and it's like, in computer terms, it's the data. The data on your computer is the most important, where in context of you, your purpose is most important. But the more things you allow to infiltrate you internally, it starts to then corrupt the data. And so then the very thing that you need for the source, you can't now produce externally because you allowed things internally to infect the thing that you were made to do.
Yeah. We had a good talk about firewalls and VPNs yesterday and how we protect stuff. So I'm going to give you, so my initial, and it was good that I asked, what your initial thought was when I first hit you with that, because as we always do, we come at these things from different angles.
Yep.
Because the first place I went to was how sometimes our dreams are not, it's not that they're not ready to be shared, but it's, so there's two stages to it. There is, the dream it's in its infancy and it's not ready to be shared. And then there's a second stage to it that actually, because it is so precious, it's not something you give away to everybody that you meet. It's something that you have to pick who you share that with carefully. You don't just tell everybody. It's like having a private club. So it's on a need to know basis, because it's only a few people, only a select few are ready to understand your purpose. And and it comes back to something you told me a long time ago, about having discernment about people when it comes to your purpose. It's being able to discern who is an advocate of your purpose, and who is how do I put it? Not a destroyer, but a blocker of your purpose. So who's for you and who's against you? Because it's not everybody that you tell your dream that is going to be for you. And that's kind of where my scripture that I went to, Genesis 37, 1 to 11. That's where that goes. And that's the story of Joseph. And for those of you that are familiar with the story, you know that Joseph was the youngest of his father's children. He was his father's favorite. His father gave him the multicolored robe. Everyone, you see Joseph in his technicolored dream coat or whatever they called the stage play. But Joseph was someone that God, and oh man, we're building something here today, but you see, I'm getting excited already. But but Joseph was someone that had a gift of dreams, and at the age of 17, he had his first dream. And he dreamt that he's what they call he's the hay, the bales of hay. He's one was in the middle, and there were 11 other ones bowing to him, and those 11 other ones represented his brothers. So they got mad when he went out there and he was like, "Hey guys, guess what? I had this dream," and his brothers got mad. They were like, "So what? We're gonna bow to you, our little brother?" And then he had another dream, and this time it was the sun and the moon and 11 stars, and they were bowing to. And so he told his dad, and his dad was like, "Are you crazy that I'm gonna bow to you? Your mom's gonna bow to you. Your brothers, we're all gonna bow to you. You're gonna be ruler over us." And what he was seeing, as we all know, as we've come to know, is the future. And him sharing that dream endangered that dream. But because God was with him, God protected him. But if we just consider how him sharing that dream endangered that dream, he told his brothers, and their immediate reaction was to hate him more, to the point where they wanted to kill him. And if it wasn't for one of his other brothers, they would have killed him. They had planned to murder him and then make it look as though a wild animal killed him. But their brother Reuben convinced them to throw him in a pit. And then he was going to go back and try and save him. But before he had the chance to, his other brothers sold him into slavery. And that's being sold into slavery then led to the fulfillment of his dream and his purpose. But it was a very, very rocky road. He got thrown in jail. I think he spent a very, the Bible doesn't give us exactly how long, but if we work back, Joseph was 30 when he became second in command in Egypt. 2 years prior to that, he was still in jail. Now he went over to Egypt at the age of 17. So, doing the math, he must have spent a good maybe 10 years in jail. So he worked. So he was sold into slavery, worked for his master, got thrown in jail, spent a long time in jail, then came out and then was in the position to fulfill his purpose. All the time while he was in this predicament, God was still working out the plan that he had for Joseph. So even though Joseph's verbal diarrhea got him into a fix, God was already putting a solution in to kind of smooth the path back. And that I think that's one thing that we all have to, because even in my situation, I think some of my problem is talking, because I talked so much about my dream in the past. It took me a lot longer to get back on track because too many people knew it. People said, "Oh, you said you was going to do this. Oh, you said that," and then I became discouraged, and I shut off my purpose. So that was the angle that I was going at when I first came up with this.
Okay, so I'm about to connect some dots. So while you were talking, I was listening, but I was writing notes and I was looking up some stuff while you were talking. So from the first thing you were talking about, you were saying that sometimes your dream is not ready, or it's not ready to give.
Yeah.
Okay, so I got two other things to add to that. So what if you're not ready?
Mm.
And then what if your connections are not ready yet?
Right.
So when you think of what you just talking about with Joseph was at. So this is the distinction that people have to understand. When God gives you the vision, the dream, that doesn't mean that's going to happen then.
Yeah.
That's to then show you a snapshot of it. What God wants to see is how long you will endure to see that vision manifest throughout the things that you go through. Because just like you're talking about with Joseph, it was various things that happened from when he saw it to when it actually happened.
Right.
But that whole process had to teach him things that he would need in order to do it. One of the things you were talking about and not sharing it because, that's when people, they kind of get angry with it or they kind of have an initial reaction. And you were talking about discernment. And this is how you can discern if what you envision or what you dream about is for that person you connect with. So either people will attack what you envision, and that means that they're threatened by what you envision.
Yeah.
People that are going to support your vision are going to be inspired by your vision, and that will draw them in. So that's the dividing line between people. The people that will invest in your dreams are going to be inspired by it and come closer to it.
Right.
People that are more arrogant and more egotistical and they want to be all about them, they're going to attack it because there's no way they can flip it and make it their own. So then they'll discount it. They'll say, "Oh, it won't work," and da 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 da. It's not that. It's just they feel threatened by what you bring to the table.
Right.
And so then you're talking about with Joseph being in jail, and you think about it in the Bible, it's a pattern of people that God calls and chooses and them going to jail or being isolated or being separated for long spans of time.
Yeah.
And that's that holding pattern. Sometimes God had to put you in an environment where you can't do anything so you can actually work on what he wants you to work on.
Yeah.
Because he knows if there's more people around you, then they're going to pull and try and get your attention. And you're going to go toward whoever's trying to pull you. And he's like, okay, if I got to lock you up, I'm just going to lock you up. You got to understand it for your good. I know right now you don't like it, but this is what you need right now. Yeah. Some of us need to be, and I think for a lot of us, that's what the pandemic did, even though we know as a whole, it wasn't the best experience, but some of us needed to be locked down and not go anywhere.
Yeah, definitely.
And not have anything to distract us because we've been running for so long. Y'all like, I just need you to be still for a minute. Some of us needed to rest. Some of us needed to communicate with friends and family or whatever else because we were just running and going and going and going. And some people now are back in those patterns. It's like, oh, I can go again, and they're trying to do the same thing, and they're not appreciating what this time is for.
Yeah.
It's for you to really get organized and get focused on what do you really want in the next season. And what does that look like for you to plan that? And that's why sometimes we have to get put in a prison. Sometimes it's a prison our own making, but that's why, because we have to be held for a while to then, just like going back to the download thing. Anytime you have to download something to your computer, your phone, you have to keep it in one spot, and you can't do anything with it. You can't cut it off. You can't whatever. You had to allow it to go through the process and let it download. And sometimes the big file of download, it's gonna take an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours. Sometimes you gotta let your computer run all night so it can get the update. And that's what God is trying to do for us. He's like, when I gave you the vision, it was for you to then, just like say like, not my will, but thy will be done. But if you want God's will to be done in you, he got to download those things into you.
Right.
For him to download those things into you, it's gonna take time. And you gotta be able to be still sometimes. So he can down. He's like, you just sit still. I can give you what you need for this next thing, but you won't sit still.
But isn't that true? Because sometimes, when you've got an update to do on your phone, it says it won't do the update unless you are at home on a stable Wi-Fi connection. It doesn't want to do it on a 4G or 3G connection while you're out on the move, because it's going to take too long. It's going to kill your bandwidth. You won't be able to do anything. It will probably fail. The same applies to us. That in this life, that God can't download into us when we won't sit still to allow him to download into us.
Yeah. Okay. I got one more thing to add there. I'm gonna let you go back. So the other thing, if you don't have enough power, you can't do the update either. So if your battery is low, then you can't get the download. You got to wait till you charge your phone up or charge your computer up to a certain amount to handle the download. And that's where some of us are too. God is doing us a favor by not allowing us to move forward in certain areas because we're not fully charged yet.
Yeah.
To handle the download he's trying to get to us. So he's protecting us. We frustrated, like, I'm ready to go. This is what I want to do. Lord, you give me this vision for this out of here. Like, no, you're not even charged up yet. You're not even repowered up yet. You need to do that first for me to do this next thing.
Yeah. I like that. That's a solid point. and it resonates with me because sometimes, like I said, me, I'm like I feel like the Energizer Bunny when I'm like, I'm ready to go. The battery's in my back. I'm ready to go.
Yep.
But I feel like a lot of the time God has pulled me back and said, dude, slow your roll. It's not time yet. It's not time yet. We're working on you. You don't know how to do this. You don't know how to do that. How are you going to handle this? Because you're not ready. We haven't covered that yet. So, but there was something you said when you said, what if you're not ready? And it reminded me of part of Joseph's story. So in the beginning, when Joseph had the dreams, Joseph will run off and he will quickly go and spout what the dream was to people. By the time you see Joseph again, when he's in prison and the chief cupbearer and the chief baker come to him with their dreams, he says, it's God's business to interpret dreams. By the time he gets to Pharaoh, he repeats that same message. I'm not the one that interprets the dreams. God interprets the dreams. But I can, so if he wills, he will tell me and I can relay it to you. So there was a shift right at the beginning. Joseph wasn't ready because he was interpreting those dreams. He was the one going out and telling people, oh, I had this dream. and therefore allowing people to infer whatever those dreams meant, and two, because he didn't have the understanding of what the dreams meant, because it was premature. It was something that wasn't going to happen for another 15, 16. No, actually, it was longer than that, because it was the 7 years of good, of prosperity, and then it was the 7 years of famine. So it probably didn't happen for another 20, 25 years. But Joseph was out there trying to prematurely tell people what this dream and what this thing meant. He wasn't ready. He didn't even know what it meant. He needed Pharaoh's dreams to take place before his dream could even be activated.
Okay, hold up. That's a point. Say that again. Say that again.
So Joseph needed Pharaoh's dream to be activated before his dream could be activated. So he was trying to run before he could even walk. It was not his time. But by the time we see him later on in the scripture, he's learned his place. He's learned his position. Not only that, his connection, as you said, was ready, because he'd interpreted the dream for the chief cupbearer, who then took 2 years to relay that to Pharaoh, because no one else could interpret his dreams, was now in position to hear what this foreigner, this Hebrew man, was coming to tell him, or was going to relay back to him. So his connection was suddenly ready. And because his connection was ready, his dream could now come to pass. And that for me was like, oh man, so when you said those things, I was like, woo, Terrence.
So look, okay. So I'm gonna add another layer to it. So in grad school, actually me and Kendra took this class. It was like almost, I don't know if y'all had like Maymester class, where it's like a week-long class before like a semester or whatever. We had a class in grad school.
Nah. I already told you the nerd.
Well, okay. Yeah, I accept that.
You took extra classes.
I did. So it was
my classes were in the club.
So before I can't remember if it was my first or second year of grad school, but that spring, I think like right before January, we had a week-long class.
Yeah.
And it was on dream interpretation.
Oh, okay.
And so going into like concluding the fall, what we had to do to prep for the class, we had to do, I think in December, November, whatever, we had to do a dream journal. So they kind of told us how to start to remember our dreams.
Right.
And so then, and you can teach yourself to do that. And so we would write down our dreams. So each one of us came in with our dream journal. And then our professors, when it was about like 30 of us or something. It was like a week-long class from 8 to 5 every day. Wow. So everybody told one of their dreams and had our professors to interpret it. So they taught us the process of doing dream interpretation. And everybody went through and talked about what their dream was, and then our professor started to unpack it. And so our dreams are our way of like subconsciously working out in our sleeping time issues that we haven't worked out in our awake time.
Right.
And everything in your dream has something to do with you. Even if it's people, different settings or whatever like that, it's all about things that are going on with you. But in order for me to do it with other people, I had to learn the process first. And I used to do a lot of dream interpretation with my clients. I love dreams. I'm all about dreams. So when you were talking about it, I was like, yeah, David don't even know. I'm all about dreams. I've been doing it a long time. But when you were talking about it and kind of, he had the initial, he was doing it more in his own power until he learned how to do it, how God wanted him to do it.
Yeah.
And that's one issue that we have as we going into our dreams that God protects us from, is that as much as we think we know, we don't. And either we need some more training, we need somebody else to come in that can mentor us or whatever, to then bridge that gap from what God has shown us to then the manifestation of it.
Right.
And then once we cross that bridge, then that's when we meet the people that would then lead us forward. And so it's like, it's all, and I know it's the quote, you know, when the student is ready, the teacher, whatever that quote is, I'm messing it up, but you know what I'm talking about. When the student is ready, the teacher is present, the teacher but it really, what it's saying is like, whenever you are ready to learn, the person that will teach you will manifest.
Right.
And that's why it's always important to continuously learn. That helps you protect your dream from not dying, because that goes back into the power part. You have to empower your dream by keep investing in it. And it was, okay, so this is one thing I had wrote down. I'm gonna say this and then I'm gonna be quiet. So what I put down is, people can't invest in you if you don't invest in you.
Right. Wait, hold on. See, I was writing something and then that hit me when you said that. So
I'm gonna say it again. People can't invest in you if you don't invest in you.
Right. I get that. It's true. You've got to be the first. How do I put this? You've got to treat yourself how you want people to treat you.
Right.
So if you want people to invest in you,
yep,
you got to invest in yourself first.
Yep.
But you also said something, that's why I was scribbling, because you said you got to protect your dream so it doesn't die.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I didn't even think about the fact that there might be different ways that you have to protect your dream.
Mm-hmm.
So everyone that is protecting their dream may not be protecting their dream in the same way. Some of us are protecting our dreams so that they don't die. So it may not be that we haven't shared it with someone. It may be that we've kept it to ourselves, but we still don't believe in that dream. So that dream is slowly. It's kind of like when they talk about kids and they say the gift of Christmas and don't let the kid lose their Christmas spirit. And as they get older, the kid starts to believe less and less in Christmas, and then suddenly they just don't believe in Christmas anymore. And what was it? I think there was this thing where there was like, I can't remember what film it was, but the less you believed, then you didn't. It was like, I don't know whether they were fairies or whatever, but
Mm-hmm.
once you stopped believing in them, you couldn't see them. But then as soon as you started to believe in them again as an adult or as a
Mm-hmm.
child, as long as you kept that belief in them alive, you could always see them. It's kind of like that with the dreams that,
Mm-hmm.
you know, unless you were constantly feeding that dream, even if it's internally, unless you were feeding it and protecting that dream, it will die. That seed will just never germinate. So that's one aspect of protecting your dream. The other aspect is protecting your dream from the naysayers, who are the external factors that come in and try. And again, I guess they're trying to kill the dream. But as you said, because they either feel threatened by it or, well, that's generally the most common thing. They feel threatened by the dream, so they try to kill the dream. A bit like Herod, he felt threatened by the child that was promised, the Messiah that was promised. So he thought, you know what? I'll just kill all the babies. Then there's no one that's going to be a threat to me.
Yep.
So there are different layers to protecting your dream.
Yeah. So, okay. So, and this reminded me of something. I had a call earlier this morning, and I was talking, and like I said, when I say this, you're going to get this.
Okay.
You're going to be like, that makes sense. So, a lot of times people think, especially if you're creating something, motivation is the key. So I'm going to link 2 different calls I had. One was a couple of weeks ago, and I was talking to somebody that's like a motivational speaker, and they were saying that people think about motivation as motivation being the thing that moves you forward. He said, you can't be motivated if you're not doing things that's motivating.
Right.
And it make a lot of sense, because if you're not doing any actions, then how are you going to be motivated? But in a creative sense, motivation is really not important. The important thing is being inspired.
Inspiration.
So if you have inspiration, the inspiration will keep you when you're not motivated. So that's what you need to feed, is things to inspire you to keep going. Whether that's something, reading something, watching something, getting into a training or whatever, because that keeps you inspired. If you don't have any inspiration around you, then how can whatever you're trying to grow, how can it grow? Because it doesn't have anything that can feed the roots. Because that's what you have to feed first. And that's why, like you were saying before, that gives you what you need until what you have been working on, it sprouts, it breaks the ground. But if your roots are fully planted, then even if you got the little seedling above ground, you understand what's beneath.
Yeah.
So you don't care what people say about the little piece you have, because you know what it's going to be because of the roots. But if you don't have deep enough roots, you could have a big tree, but then it's going to fall.
Yeah.
Because it's not rooted in anything, because you didn't take time to dig down into what you really want to do. And so then what anybody says to you, then that's when you just kind of just sway. You just kind of go and you can topple over.
Yeah. You go with the flow. You lean whichever way the wind is blowing.
Yep.
But when you said that, I kind of, you and me the same. Pictures come into my head. So yeah. I saw it as, so motivation is the fuel, but inspiration is the engine. Mm-hmm. So I could have a gallon of fuel, mm-hmm. but if I got no engine to drive the car, then that fuel is useless. It's not going to, it can't power anything, because there is nothing to propel forward. Yep. But as long as the engine is there, you can keep there is something to move you forward.
Yep. Yep. Yeah. That's good. That's good. I never thought about it that way. But it makes sense though.
So I'm going to say something as well. When so I'm going to go to my other scripture, Daniel 1:17, and it said, God gave these 4 young men an unusual aptitude for understanding every aspect of literature and wisdom. And then it says, and God gave Daniel the special ability to interpret the meaning of visions and dreams. So what that made me think is, one of the reasons why we have to protect our dreams, one of the reasons that we shouldn't just share our dreams with just anybody, is because the interpretation of dreams and visions one, it's God's business, but two, he only gives that gift to certain people. It's a special gift that he gives out.
Yep.
Now, other people, and what do we have in the world? What do we always say about what the world does? The world copies and mimics. The world imitates. It doesn't originate. So you have to be careful, and this is why the discernment is so important. You have to be careful who you are sharing that dream with, because it may be an imitator and not a gift from the originator.
Okay, say it again. Say that again.
Be careful who you are sharing your dream with, because it may be an imitator and not the gift from the originator.
Okay, so I'm gonna stop right there, and then I'm gonna say this, and then you keep going. So I had a conversation with one of my mentors, and we were talking about that very thing, about how people would try to imitate what you do. But the thing about it is, if you spent enough time investing in the process of it, it's harder for people to replicate or duplicate it.
Yeah.
Because even if they try and kind of take the format of it, the roots that you have into it, or going to something else, your fingerprint is on it because your system is in it. Even if somebody does the surface level thing, they can't replicate that process because you know the process. And so that's why when you spend that time, the time investment is the protection, because then it gives a certain level of investment on your part. Just like if you watch Shark Tank or anything else like that, they were like, in order for you to really be committed to something, you got to have skin in the game. And that's like investing your own money. If you don't feel the pressure of whatever you feel like you call or led to do being the only thing for you to do that will move your life forward, you won't fully be committed to it, because you always have a way out. But when what you have is your only thing, then you're like, okay, we got to go. We got to get this rolling, because you got a different level of conviction to what you're saying. Yeah. So it forces you to have to believe in what you really stand for, because it's all you have. You've invested, you've given yourself to that, and that's what it takes. But you have to understand and have discernment to then align with people that can then resonate with that also. And so it has to be a certain level of familiarity in the walk or the experience. And so just like when Dave was talking about conversations we've had, the way it progressed like that is because the more we had conversation, the more similarities we started to identify. And it was like, oh, well, I was thinking about that, you were thinking about that, or I experienced that, you experienced that. And so then the more we did that back and forth, then like, oh, okay, well, I might be able to say this thing, or I might be able to say that. Let's see where that goes. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, so it's like that back and forth until you, and it's building something. And I think a lot of times people connect with others just to see the angle and how it could work. Yeah. But it's an investment, and you don't know where it will go. And so, like, we didn't know this was going to go where it is now.
No, we didn't.
But it was just a back and forth. And then by the time it happened, it was like, oh, that makes sense. Yeah. I see how that could work out, but it wasn't. It's not something that we just, like after the second conversation, like, hey, Dave, we need to do a podcast. You got some ideas, I got some ideas. Let's do a podcast. It wasn't nothing like that at all.
Nah, we didn't even know that. We didn't even know this was going to be the format until you stepped in to cover. Yeah. Where I didn't have a co-host for my first episode, and then suddenly one episode became 9 episodes later. So it's just, and that's just how things work with us. And we realized that we can support each other's dreams and each other's visions without feeling threatened by each other's dreams and each other's visions.
Right.
I have no qualms in sharing my dream about my book with you because I know that it's not, we're in our own lanes, and anything I share with you is something that you are going to help me. You're going to support me to help bring to life, rather than try and say, nah, that don't sound good. I think you need to scratch that.
Yeah.
There's always constructive, even if there's criticism, it's constructive criticism that, I don't think that might work. What about trying it this way? Have you thought about doing it this way?
Yeah.
Whereas when you speak to someone, and this is, and I think for me, this is where the gift of the originator and the imitator comes into play. That when it's an imitator, because they are not rooted in a gift, they are just copying. When you speak to them, all they see is the surface level.
Yep.
So they will that is where they will either be, yeah, go ahead and do that, and not give you any real anything of depth to what they're saying to you. The encouragement is just, it's a bit like they're like fair weather friends. When the weather is good, they're hey, yeah, go ahead, do that. Or when they criticize, it's not constructive criticism, it's an attack, because it agitates something in them, and then the defense mechanism comes up, and the natural instinct is then to attack, to tear down, to stop whatever feels like it's threatening them. So if someone's criticism comes at you as just pure criticism, nothing constructive, nothing supportive, it's not encouragement, it's aimed at tearing down your dream or tearing down your vision, that is not the gift of the originator. That is someone imitating that gift. That is someone pretending to be someone that understands your dream or your vision. Someone that understands your dream and your vision will be connected to the root. They understand the root of the vision. They understand the purpose of the dream. They understand your purpose. They may not be able to explain it, but just hearing your dream and your vision lights a fire in them. And it sparks something. They're excited by your dream. They're excited by your vision. It makes them want to get involved. It makes them want to do something to help you fulfill that dream. That is the difference.
Oh, and I don't know why this popped up in my head, but okay. While you were talking, I thought about, you have purpose chameleons. So you think about chameleons can change themselves and blend into different environments. But if you think about a chameleon, if all of your life is spent changing and being other things, then what's your real identity? And so when somebody tries to be an imitator of what you're trying to do, it's because they don't know their purpose, and they're just trying on things. They're just trying, let me try this, let me try that, let me try this, let me try that. And so the reason why, just like what they were talking about, you don't have to compete when you know your purpose. Because I know my purpose is leading other people to their purpose. I'm not threatened when people tell me their purpose. It excites me because, like, my mind goes to, okay, what do they need to go do the thing that they want to do?
Yeah.
So it activates my purpose because I know what it is. So I'm not threatened by people's purposes, because for me, I just want to see that. Once they tell me that, it's like, okay, cool. But, and like I tell anybody, I always give people a disclaimer. I was like, look, be careful what you tell me if you're not ready to do it.
Yeah.
I am the foot
of Jesus.
the booster cables. Don't tell me anything you're not ready to do.
Oh man,
because it's not like, oh, I'm gonna walk you into it. No, it's not like I give you a little time. But you're gonna do it once you say it and once you tell it to me. Oh, you're gonna do it. Oh, it's gonna happen.
It's on.
It's gonna happen. I'm gonna make sure, and then I'm gonna check back in. Like, hey, you said the other day you're gonna do that. Did you do that? Did you make that call? Did you start that? Did you write that down? Whatever.
Yeah.
So everybody knows me that knows me, that's around me. That's who I am.
Yeah.
I want everybody around me to be the best version of themselves, because that's what I'm always striving to be. So anybody around me, if you want to be better, that's what I'm here for. Now, that's what I'll make sure everybody around me levels up, because then that's how you. And like I say, it goes back to LeBron, and he's definitely somebody that inspires me, and not just from a basketball standpoint. The thing that I really am inspired about him for is that he brought his friends along for the whole ride.
Right.
And he didn't just have them as yes men. He empowered them to be in their own lanes. Now, there's things that they do collectively, but a lot of things, they're heads over different industries, businesses or whatever. And now that team has now made an impact, but they didn't, and I'm not saying they self-made, because I don't think anybody's self-made, but that's a whole other conversation. Yeah. We're not gonna go there. That's a whole other conversation. There's a whole other topic. We'll save that. But
that might be next week.
I don't know. It could be. But it's all about those connections and who you connected to, and then how you better each other. And that's where a lot of us get stuck. We try and do all of it ourselves.
Yeah.
At some point where you had to invest in it alone, and that is true, but to then get it to go to the people and reach the people you're trying to reach, you will need connections to do that. And it's a balance. Some things you will have to do on your own, but some things you will need other people. Yeah. But not from a standpoint of, I need your help. It's more or less people, like-minded individuals that are inspired by what you do and naturally want to help.
Yeah.
And that takes building those connections. It's not just a one-off thing. It's an investment.
So you plugged me right back into my scripture, because what you said there, you take Joseph's situation. When it came time for his purpose and his connections were ready, everything that he had done up to that point suddenly made sense.
Yep. The
skills he had gained working in Potiphar's house, where he suddenly was given control over Potiphar's house. Then he went to jail, and then he was assigned control over all the prisoners. And he organized and he sorted out all the other prisoners, and the prison had never run smoother before that. Then he comes out and he's put as second in command, only second to Pharaoh, over the land of Egypt. But everything, so it was funny because he didn't even try to put himself in that position. He said to Pharaoh, what you need is an intelligent person who knows during the time of famine, they can take a bit of the grain and stash that away so that when during the time of prosperity, they can take the grain, stash some of the grain. So when the famine comes, they're like, boom, we got that. You go over there. We got some of that. We hook you up. That's it. Everybody good. And Pharaoh looked at his wise men and went, you stupid, you stupid, you stupid. Hey, Joseph, come over here. You're my new man.
Yeah.
Take this ring. You are now second in command. So everything Joseph needed, God suddenly put into position the resources. And it was, you know, when you said it's not a case of saying you need these people's help, it's you need their connection so that their purpose aligns with your purpose, so that the joint purpose, the bigger picture, can be fulfilled.
Yep.
And that's what happened with Joseph. The resources that he needed to fulfill his purpose were in Egypt. So he had to suddenly go through all of this. Now, God probably had a different route for Joseph to get to Egypt. But because Joseph kept running his mouth, he ended up taking a different path. But everything that God needed to fulfill happened so that by the time that purpose needed to be fulfilled, he had the connections and the resources to fulfill that purpose.
So I'm gonna go to a point from what you just said, and then I'm gonna make another point, something you said earlier. So, and I gotta find out where the study is, but it's kind of like a psychological study, but it goes to talk about the reason why, exactly like what you were saying, why you shouldn't say things that you want to do publicly to people.
Yeah.
You know, prematurely, because that process of speaking it out, and I can't remember how it goes, but it's when you speak it out, it's your body resonates like you already did it.
Right.
So the more you speak about it, it's like you have less desire, you know, to actually do it, because your body, because you're talking about it so much, feels that it's already done. When you withhold that, then your body is still in, not tense, but it's in the anticipation for it. And so it just like to go back to motivation, like the gas tank and in the engine. So your engine might be running right, but the more you talk about it, it depletes your motivation.
Right.
So you don't have the fuel to go forward, because in your mind, oh, I already did it. Because if you think about it, when you're talking about the thing you really want to do, you can feel it in your body. It's like, you know, it's like, yeah. And then when you get through talking about it, like, oh man, but I ain't did nothing with it. I didn't start on anything. And so then you had the inverse. So you had all that energy and all that electricity going like, oh yeah.
Yeah.
And then you look at the reality, it's like, oh man, I ain't doing anything. And
Yeah.
like, well, maybe I'll do it tomorrow. I'll just start tomorrow. Maybe I'll do. And that's what we do. We spend so much energy talking about it that we then don't have the fuel we need to actually sit down and do it. So the other thing, and you know, it's not an accident, but you think about the people who God chooses is always the least of them, or the least, the people that nobody else would choose. It's like, if it's a strong person, God like, let me take that one. That's not, the people think that he's not, or not the tall one. Let me get the short one. Nah, let me get you right here. Like, oh, you kill somebody? Let me get you. You know what I'm saying? So it's like always the least likely person. That's who he chooses, and it's for a reason, because sometimes we're too high-minded for God to use.
Say that again.
Sometimes we're too high-minded for God to use. God likes people who can be humble and understand why he placed certain things within them.
Yeah.
Because he knows some people, if he places so much in, they would then go a total different route, and they'll be like the people trying to, you know, be like the second coming of Jesus, and they got the cult following, and they lead people all into the desert themselves, because it's like, oh, look at all this power I have. And people have to understand that with power, it comes a great responsibility. And he doesn't give a lot of, well, I'll say it this way. He doesn't give a lot of power to people that's not responsible. But people take a lot of power because they want to be seen as, look at me.
Yeah.
So it's the difference between God giving it to you and then you giving it to yourself.
Yeah. And that's the difference. Saul and David, right? Saul was the king that, although he was chosen by God, he became full of himself. He became arrogant and disobeyed God. And when God told him, don't take things, he was like, I'm the king. I'm taking it.
I'm me. What you mean? I'm me.
So he starts doing whatever he wants to do.
Yeah.
Whereas David, on the other hand, with all his flaws and all his brokenness, he constantly redirects it all back to God. I can't believe you made me king. Who am I that you should choose me to use me to make me king? I'm but the lowest in my family.
Yep.
I'm not worthy. I'm this. And even when he was king and when his position got to his head and he took old boy's wife. I forget his name right now. But
they know it. Read your Bible.
But he took his wife, and as soon as he was exposed, he was like right back down to humility and said, "Oh God, I'm dead wrong. I was dead wrong." And that's the difference. As you said, that's the difference. The people that, and Jesus says it in, where's the scripture? I can't remember where the scripture is, but Jesus said, he tells a parable, and he's talking about, it's better, you go to a banquet, you should take the lowest seat so that the host will come and find you and elevate you to a seat of honor. But if you go there and you elevate and put yourself in a seat of honor, when someone else more important comes in, the host will come to you and say, yo, you got to bounce. I need that seat. And you will be humbled. So it's best you humble yourself before somebody else humbles you. And that's it. When it comes to our plans, our purpose, we should always take a seat of humility, even in our own purpose, because, like you said, no one is self-made.
Right.
None of our efforts are our own doing. None of our achievements are our own doing. You might say that but I'm the one that got up every day and went to the gym and put in the work. I shot all those free throws. I ran all those drills. I did this, I did that.
Yeah.
Or I studied for this long.
Yeah.
Okay, but who put breath in your lungs so that you could even get out of the bed? Who gave you an able body so that you can even do what you did? Who made it? Who created the opportunity for a scout to come down and see you perform? Who prevented you from being injured? All of these things, there are so many things that come in that happen that, you might have done your part. You might have been diligent in doing your part, but you still needed other people to make that dream come to life. And it was the grace of God that made those people happen to be at the right place at the right time so that your dream and your purpose could be fulfilled. God orchestrates it. Even if you are not a believer, and I say this right now, if you are not a believer, do not think that you are self-made, because God has a purpose for everyone. And sometimes, even if you are not a believer, you are still allowed to fulfill your purpose because God needs you in that position so that someone else can fulfill their purpose, so that someone else who is faithfully serving him, can come and fulfill their purpose. And you know, I'd say humble yourself, because you don't want to end up like Pharaoh, because Pharaoh was in his position of might and so on and feeling self-made. Little did he know God needed him there so that Moses could fulfill his purpose. And as soon as Moses had liberated the people from Egypt, what happened? Pharaoh followed Moses into the Red Sea, and him and all his army were drowned, and dude was dead. God had finished with what he needed Pharaoh for. So he was like, yo, it's a wrap. Your time is done. So be conscious of the fact that you are not the be all and end all, because yeah, you might not believe and you might have achieved these things, but your achievements may be to pave the way for someone else's purpose. And once you're done, once it's done, you might be done.
Okay, so I'm gonna say this off of what you just said. So I'll frame it like this: when your purpose is ready, your Pharaoh will appear.
Oh man, put that. I'll put down a T-shirt.
I'm gonna say it again because it was good to me when it came to it. So I'm gonna say it again. When your purpose is ready, your Pharaoh will appear.
Right.
Because you need your Pharaoh to lead you into the place you need to be.
Right.
Without your Pharaoh, it doesn't give you that endurance. So anytime you have something come against you, not that you have to necessarily fight it, but you do have to defend your purpose. And that's what the Pharaoh is for. Sometimes our Pharaohs are not external people. Sometimes our Pharaohs are internal. So sometimes we have to address our internal Pharaohs to then go into the promised land.
Right.
But one other thing I was thinking about as you were talking, and so this goes into something that we were talking about yesterday, and I think this would be the great way to wrap it up today, is the last part of protection, of what God is protecting you from, is because what you are producing right now will lead to bad fruit. And he doesn't want you to bear bad fruit. So part of the holding pattern that you might be in is for God to prune you.
Right. Yeah.
And cut those things off that would then lead you to bear bad fruit. Because if you're connected to him, he's not going to allow you to bear bad fruit if it's his purpose for you. But a lot of times we're trying to grow things that are not of him, and it will bear bad fruit.
Yeah.
And it have the look of the other thing. But when people experience it, like, something about this, about them just not, I don't know what it is about them. You know what I'm saying? You just, for me,
I'm going to take it to something we can both relate to. It's like when you go to, so this is before I became vegan. So, but you go somewhere and you see, it always used to happen with ribs. Yeah. You see the ribs and they look succulent. They look like they're going to fall off the bone.
Yep.
And then you start eating them and then you're like,
they dry.
They dry. Most of the meat's still on the bone and you're like, oh man.
I already know.
Yeah. It's like that. It's when you taste it, the outward appearance gives off that aura and that look that it is good fruit. Or it's like, and yeah, you take that. You grapes. I get some grapes and the grapes look good,
Mm-hmm.
and then you eat them and they're sour. There's just no sweetness to it whatsoever.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the same thing. We bear fruit that has the appearance of what our purpose should have birthed. But when the people taste it, there is no flavor to it. There is no substance to it. It's lacking. It hasn't matured. It's unripe. It's like when now I'm talking about food all the time. But it's like when we buy those.
It's me too.
It's like when you buy plantain and someone has force riped the plantain and you cook it, and instead of getting that sweetness from the plantain, it's savory like a green banana.
Mm-hmm.
That's the same thing. It has the appearance of being matured and ripe, but when you eat it, you see how immature and unready it was to be birthed.
Yeah. So I'm gonna say this, then I think this will have us to land the plane today.
Okay. Land the plane.
We're gonna land the plane. So I'm thinking about, okay, well, how then do I protect, my purpose? So one thing I put down, and we talked about it from different angles today, is preparation.
Right.
Your preparation gives you time to not only invest in yourself, but it gives you awareness of what you need to do next. Then it takes a duration. So, like you were saying before, anything to become right, it needs time to mature. So, what the look on the inside, or the outside, and then the substance in the inside can match.
Yeah.
Because sometimes we've invested so much time on our external appearance that our internal is not right. So we riding on the inside, but we dress up. We ready for the gram on the outside.
Yeah.
And then the intent. If my intent is not correct, then my purpose will be forfeited. If I'm not intentional about why I'm doing what I'm doing, then why am I doing it? And if it's not for a purposeful intent, then what I'm doing is for myself. And so then it's easy for what I do for myself to fall or to bear bad fruit, because then I have to be the one that sustains it, that grows it, that waters it, that all that kind of stuff. So now it takes a whole lot more effort for what I'm working on to grow, because I have to do it all in my own power. But what God gives us to do, He understands that we can't do it by ourselves. And when we become more willing to step back and be more in a supportive role to our purpose, then God can use us more, because then we're available more.
Yeah.
But we'll stress ourselves out because we're trying to do everything in our own power, and the very things He called us to, we don't have time for. And so then those things don't get to grow, and then we don't have the fuel to go forward into those things, because we're spending our time focusing on things that can never feed us and sustain us. And so even the things that God calls us to do, even though it might take some energy from us, it will always sustain us. It will always find a way to provide for us financially and all that kind of stuff. So even if we feel like we've been wandering in the wilderness forever, even they had manna come down. God gave manna from heaven.
Right.
And that was free. It might not have been what they wanted, but they weren't hungry.
Yep.
And so that's the thing. It's like, look, I know you wandering right now. I know what you want. You want this steak, and you want this, and you want that, but you're not hungry though.
Yeah.
And you don't have to worry about how things are gonna work out. You want to have guarantees. I need you to just trust me. The manna gonna come every day.
Yeah.
You just gotta trust me. until you get to that place, but you got to get this down first, because you have to have a healthy reliance on me. And this is the only way I know to do that with you. Because if I give it to you too fast, you're going to ignore me again.
Yeah.
And like, you can't ignore me right now. So I'm protecting you. I gotta lock you up. I gotta send you in the wilderness. I gotta send you in the desert. I gotta send you off so you'll listen to me. So I can give you enough instructions for the next thing. Because if you go into it too fast, you're gonna forfeit it. Because you're gonna make it all about you again. You gotta know it's coming from me, but I need to build that in you so that you will then go into it as a reflection of me instead of a reflection of yourself.
And with that said, I don't even have to say anything. You just shut it down.
Look, I have my V8.
Yeah, that was that final Goku Dragon Ball Z final power up.
It was God. It was God. That's what it was. It was God. It was God.
Oh man, no, that was that was well needed. There's so much in there for me that personally I needed to hear, and I know we talked about it, but again, it's just having those same things reaffirmed to me is super important. I think one thing people need to take, there is nothing wrong with affirmations and having these affirmations in your life. And sometimes the affirmations may be things that you do not want to hear.
Yep.
But they will always be, they're more than likely the things that you always need. And again, that goes exactly to what Terrence was saying, that, God gives us what we need, not what we want, because sometimes what we want is bad for us and bears bad fruit. So we have to always trust and believe in when God is giving us what we need. I'm not even going to go off into another tangent. I'm gonna leave it right there. So we just want to thank you for tuning in to another episode of the Daily Perspective. I hope this has been a blessing to you all. It's definitely been a blessing to me. And Terrence, like I said, when we get on this, we encourage each other. This is truly an iron sharpens iron situation, because we never ever come at these things from the same angle, but we always meet in the middle, and we always encourage each other and teach each other something new. So as per usual, you can catch me on all my socials. So at Mr. Daley on, that's not right. At DY Daley on Twitter, at DY Daley on Instagram, at Daily Perspective on Facebook, and also Daily Perspective on YouTube. www.dailyperspective.co.uk. There is going to be some written work coming soon. Terrence kicked my butt yesterday about that, so
encourage.
Okay. Terrence encouraged me. When he was talking about those jumper cables, he had those out yesterday. So there's some written work that's going to be coming. That's going to be coming via Medium and also on Daily Perspective website. So look out for that. And Dr. Terrence, give them your socials.
Yeah, so email info@iprogresscc.com. If you want to take a look at our website, www.iprogress.cc. If you want to catch us on Facebook, it's at iprogresscc. And like David was saying, so we committed to doing 2 Medium articles a month. And so that's something that you'll see. So you'll be able to see on David's Medium, he'll have 2 articles a month. And on my Medium page, I'll have 2 per month. And we are talking about maybe doing a co-written thing that we do for the podcast that might be once a month. So look for that. I will be doing, I don't know when it'll be released, but I should be doing 2 articles with Motivation Magazine. That's with Ty Howard. He's one of my mentors, been one of my mentors for about 8 years or something like that. And so he does motivational speaking. He has a book called Untie the Knots, which is real good. So he does a lot of personal growth type things and motivational type things. So I've done some writing for him before, so I'm getting back started. So he gave me a kick too the other week from a conversation. He's like, man, at least you could do me 2 hard. I was like, okay, I got you. So I will be doing those, so you can check those out. So
you were just paying that kick forward.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like I said, I get kicked first. That's what I get kicked first, and then I just issue it back out. You know, but mine come first. So I usually get kicked first before I kick up. But and so you can check that out on Motivation Magazine. That's the website. And I got some old stuff on there too if you want to check it out. But I got to update my profile because this still got to be working at Jackson State. so it's super old, so I got to update my stuff before I do some more with that. So look out for that. And we'll have some other stuff going into next month, but that's the more recent stuff is the writing. And so so look out for that, and then you'll be able to connect with that. We'll let you know how to get involved with that, because we need people to read it, share it, and like it. Well,
definitely.
You do claps on Medium.
Right.
That's what you do.
Right.
Help us out. Help us grow. Help us grow our audience.
You do a little bit of that.
Yeah, clap. Yeah. Yeah. That's what you do. So that's all I had. That's all my updates.
Oh, and just remind them the times of the
the Facebook Live. Okay.
Yeah.
So Facebook Lives, Monday and Thursday. Monday we do them on our main page. Thursday we typically do them on our Take the Journey page. We do have a YouTube channel, so you can check us out there. And also, if you want to watch the daily perspective, we do have a YouTube channel too. So check us out there too. So I do have the topic for Thursday. The topic Thursday will be seeing is believing.
Okay.
So it's gonna be good.
Yeah. No spoilers.
That's gonna be the topic for Thursday. So come on. It'll be 12 noon Central Standard Time. Come join us. Come get involved. And comment. David comment. He usually comment big paragraphs that I can't read. It's like, man, how am I gonna read all this and talk?
I get excited. That's me. I get excited and then
Look, we expected. We're like, okay, here go David. He come with a long paragraph. But it's cool. Like I said, we enjoy it because we like that people enjoy it and they get energized and inspired by what we're talking about. So it's cool. We always like when David comes through. He gonna hit us with something. So we gotta be ready.
Oh, that's cool. So. Once again, we just want to thank you for joining us on this, and we want to take the time to close this off as we normally do and remind you that Christianity is a personal walk and relationship between you and God. You are not, will not, and never will be perfect, but that's okay. God loves you and wants you to come just as you are. His grace covers all. Live free from condemnation and do not crucify yourself. Be renewed by the grace of God through Christ Jesus and become who you were created to be. And with that said, this is Mr. Daley signing off.
This is Dr. Johnson.
And we will catch you on the next episode. God bless.